Welcome to the Universal Dancer podcast with your host Leslie Zare, author of The Alchemy of Dance and the Alchemia Remedies. Coming to you live from Cairo, Egypt, the ancient land of Kem. Journey with us to explore sacred dance, the sacred arts, the mystical and the magical. Join a community of like-minded souls seeking to understand the cosmic dance of co-creation through the sacred arts. Come along and expand your mind, ignite your creativity, and explore something new and something old. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your comments and your feedback, and I think we have an exciting show for you, so let's just jump right in and let me introduce my guest to you. Jennifer Jiménez founded the Health and Wellbeing Division to help people feel confident in their bodies and joyfully radiant in their lives. Jennifer's products and services have been featured in Self Magazine, NBC News, Oxygen, and Woman's World, to name a few, and has shared the stage with some of the world's greatest thought leaders, including Marianne Williamson, Bob Proctor, Ariel Ford, Wayne Dyer, and Deepak Chopra. She's the founder and creator of the consciousdance modality, TranscenDance, and the founder of the Health and Wellbeing Division of Brave Thinking Institute. Amid all these accomplishments, what Jennifer is the most proud of is her thriving marriage to her soulmate of 24 years and being a loving mom to her 3 healthy, happy children. Let's welcome Jennifer to the show.
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Leslie. It's so fantastic to be here. Hi there, everyone.
Well, let's just jump right in because I think we actually have a lot to talk about here. So maybe you can just begin by telling us a little bit of how you started with dance, just your dance journey from the beginning.
Oh my goodness, the dance journey from the beginning. Well, like many dancers, I think I came dancing out of the womb. But so I am originally from Oregon. I grew up on a farm in Hillsboro, Oregon, on a Marionberry farm, 100 acres. And back in 1975, when we were growing up, there's, no internet. There's not a whole lot to do, but just to run around on this farm and play. So from a very early age, I just fell in love with movement, all things movement and moving the body. We would drive into town and we would drive by this dance studio and I would see the young people, most of whom were girls. They had big windows, glass windows, so I could see them moving. And I begged and begged and begged until I could, my brothers really got old enough where they could drive me because my parents both worked full time. So I started the traditional route, taking most of the, traditional dance classes that most young people take, jazz, ballet, modern. But I was always really intrigued by more of the cultural movement. I found a African dance class in town and started taking that. And my mother is a spiritual thought leader and the founder of our institute, Brave Thinking Institute. And I love to share our mission because I believe that you are living your mission, Leslie. It's so beautiful to see what you are doing. But our mission is to help people create and live a life they love through universal spiritual principles, through quantum physics, through really recognizing and understanding that our thoughts become things. And as a kinesthetic learner, in the old school thought leader, my mother's name is Mary Morrissey, if you're wondering who she is. And we would have Deepak and Wayne Dyer and all these wonderful speakers come to talk at the Spiritual Center. And I would sit there. I was sharing this with Leslie at the beginning when we were getting ready to come on air, that I would innately just feel this inner knowing that we needed to not just hear the information about how to transform our lives and how to grow mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in all the ways we want to grow as human beings and become all that we're meant to be. But I knew that we needed to feel it. We needed to fully embody the principles that were being talked about on stage. But I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know exactly how to get there. And I'm so grateful that my mother would bring different, she did bring different modalities to the center. And so she brought some of the earlier pioneers in conscious movement and conscious dance. Debbie and Carlos Rosas, the founder and creators of NIA, came and did a presentation at our spiritual center. Then Arjuna Marti, who's the founder of Soul Motion. Both of these individuals are from Oregon, of course. So I got to experience some of their work. And that was really my first early days of and years of exploring conscious dance. My very first conscious dance class was in a class with Vin Marti. And it was at the Body Moves in Portland, Oregon, which is this beautiful old building in this huge ballroom-like space. And I'm coming from the traditional dance world, and I tell the story, in traditional dance, you walk in and it's bright lights and, leotards, and everyone's standing facing the mirror, and there's the girl who's the best, who's front and center. And there's a lot of self-judgment. There's a lot of criticism. There's a right and a wrong way to do it. And there's not a whole lot of, in my experience of class, at least, there wasn't a whole lot of spiritual connection going on in that class. And I walk into Vin's class and the lights are dim and we start off in a circle, and there's just this immediate shift in the vibrational frequency of what is being the container, the sacred container that's being created. And I'll skip forward to, that was really one of my very first truly spiritual transcendental experiences, where somewhere in the middle of that class, I forgot who I was. I forgot I even had a physical body. And I was transported into the land of just being one with pure spirit and the music and the breath. And I feel like I had been a caged bird, and I was let out of that cage to fly and soar and just become one with the space. And my mother gave me, when I was 18 and I was leaving home to go pursue, my first dream was to pursue becoming a professional dancer. So I wasn't quite ready to dive into the spiritual dance world as a vocation. I was still on the path of wanting to dance as a living. And that was the only way I could, see to do it. But she gave me a book, and it was Gabrielle Roth's book, Maps to Ecstasy. And how I kept, as an 18-year-old, who honestly, as a kinesthetic learner, I didn't really love to read, and in all transparency. So I don't know how I kept that book with me. I think it just magically stayed with me, because I moved from Oregon. I fell in love with my husband in high school. He's from Mexico City, so we had a long distance relationship. So I first moved to Mexico and studied down in Mexico City. Then I moved to New York a year and a half later to pursue dance in New York. We ultimately got married in New York and then moved to LA, and I danced professionally in Los Angeles. And that book stayed with me through all of that, which is shocking to me today, honestly. And then
you needed it.
It was my soul's path, I guess. And Gabrielle Roth came to LA. I was able to do some work and some training with her when she was still alive. And so she was also very much, her videos, her books became a mentor to me as well. And the real, oftentimes, I like the saying, our mess can become our message, right? Oftentimes our own pain and journey ultimately can become our transformational opportunity and purpose and mission in life. And so when I was 25, I became pregnant, and we were married. We'd been married for 5 years. I got married pretty young. I met my husband very young. And we wanted kids, but as a dancer, I wasn't trying. You know how that works, right? I wasn't trying, but I wasn't trying hard enough not to get pregnant, obviously, as well. So she came roaring into my world, my beautiful daughter, who, by the way, will be 22 this Saturday, I think it is. And it's hard to believe it's been that long. And as somebody at the time at 25 who felt very fit and healthy, and who was also awakening to her spirituality, and back then, there was the rise of the natural birth was really in the field. There was the women who were standing up for, they didn't want to have a lot of outside, doctor control. And so I had, especially coming from our spiritual center, my mom, I had all these midwives and doulas. Like I had bags of books that everybody gave me, and everybody's trying to help. And anyhow, I trained for that natural birth the way you might train for climbing Mount Everest or running, a marathon or I did visualizations every night, and I wrote my birth plan, and I did prenatal yoga, and I did all the classes that I could find at the time to train me for this event that I was so wanting to have. But oftentimes these kinds of opportunities really take us where our soul is seeking for us to go. So the birth was not all natural. Not only was it not all natural, it was really the opposite of what I had been visualizing. And I was using the tools that I thought are New Thought spirituality, our manifestation, the law of attraction, all the things that, in quantum physics and metaphysics we teach. And birth was a perfect opportunity to show me really where I was and what my relationship was with my body. And because I was in a no pain, no gain, highly critical, whip yourself into shape, controlling relationship with my body that largely I had learned from the traditional fitness and dance world, that it couldn't be more opposite of what energy we want to enter into natural birth with, right? And surprisingly, the methods of training the body were also very much an outside in training, physical training for birth. And I was so honestly just devastated. I fell into the baby blues, and I just for a while just needed to lick my wounds. And then we moved to Oregon, and I launched a dance ministry at our spiritual center and just began to open up to and ask spirit for guidance. And it really launched me on a discovery, on a journey to discover more about myself. And I knew intuitively, I didn't have the answers, but I knew there was something off. There was something I missed, because I had done everything by the book in terms of like reading my vision every night and doing the visualizations to the ocean waves that my midwife gave me and all the things that I thought I should do. But what I missed was my body needed to be in flow and be trusted and be honored and be loved and be respected, and discovering this innate body wisdom that I had within me. And as this young woman who'd been trained to turn all that off to perform, I really needed to unlearn a lot of the things that I had learned. And that's really what launched me into, not only taking everything I could and reading every book I could and every program I could with the leaders of our conscious dance world at the time, but also it's where I began to create TranscenDance. The early versions of TranscenDance began to become born, and I started leading classes and teaching workshops and polishing it and forming it. And that was 22 years ago. And here we are today. And it's part of my most deepest spiritual practice personally. It's part of, I raised my kids TranscenDancing, which is really just dancing, freeform dancing in our living room, playing music and just enjoying and having fun together as a family. And I love how embodied my children are, and I just help them stay awake. I didn't have to teach them a thing. They're the ones that taught me the most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that being a mother actually means you're going to learn something rather than that you're going to teach something, because yes, it is. It's the way we learn, and very profound lessons. And I think back to what you said about your preparation. This is the thing. This is the masculine side, to read, to be prepared, to have a plan. But then the feminine is all about being dynamic. And I think that that's something that's so underrated and not really looked at. And definitely giving birth and being a mother, you learn how to be dynamic. And I think it's a skill that has really been lost. And I guess the universe decided you needed to hone that skill.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's throw her into a tailspin. See
Well,
what
here's
she's going to do.
yeah, you
And
know,
look what you did.
yes.
You
Well, I
created
did have
something
2 more
wonderful.
children.
Yeah.
So I have 2 boys, and they were, I mean, I remember going into my so almost 4 years later, I had my first son, and I remember heading into that birth. To your point, I love the idea of sort of this, approaching it from, you've got the linear or logical or more masculine, you have an organized plan. It's important to have the information. It's important to be studied, to know, to be prepared. So I felt like I had that in spades. The feminine side is all of the unknown, right? It's the openness, it's creation, it's creativity, it's intuition, it's infinite intelligence, which is our nonlinear intelligence system. It's the body wisdom, it's trusting and knowing that the body knows this, and medicine is just there for the rare issue that is just the rarity,
The
but there
backup
are times.
plan.
So, I did want to have my babies in the hospital, and I felt the safest there. I know not all people or women feel that way, but for me, it was the place to be. I didn't want intervention. My medical support was great. There's no judgment there. It was really more what was going on for me. So anyhow, I ended up having a 2-hour labor and birth. I had a doula. I could go into the longer story. It doesn't matter. I just remember holding him and almost like laughing out loud and saying, "That's it. It's over." Like I was ready to be the goddess warrior that goes even more than, it was 50 hours. My first birth was 50. So to go from 50 to 2, and then my third, my youngest boy, it was like I almost didn't get there. It was 90 minutes from, so I really did learn how to trust my body. And I would say the biggest transformation between the early woman Jennifer and the middle-aged, I'm 46, so the middle-aged Jennifer today is just this new, expanded, deepened relationship and trust of my body and my body temple, and this unlocking of these superpowers that we're all given inside of being a human being. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I described it once to one of my clients, and she said to me, "Why didn't you say this before?" And I just thought, maybe I just thought everybody knew this. So, I guess
Uh-huh.
I should say this more. I guess I should say this more often.
State the obvious, because it
Yeah,
isn't
but
obvious to everybody. Yeah.
so the idea is that, as especially in the last couple hundred years, the intellect was given to the university to be educated, right? The body is often handed to science to be fixed, and solved. And then spirituality was handed to religion, right? As a doorway into our connection to a higher power, when it's all right here, mind, body, and spirit. It's this coming home. And what I love about, at least for me, as a dancer and as an embodied person, is somebody who experiences spirit. I often experience my connection with my higher power in the music, in the breath, in the movement, out in nature, just hiking up the hill right here in Orange County and broadcasting. I love that we're totally in different sides of the world, coming together to talk about this conversation. And as I began to teach, and I'll just share this, especially here in the Western world. I mean, places like Egypt, and I mean, there's the movement, and the music is still alive as I've traveled the world to, like Bali, or my husband's from Mexico. I mean, it's so rich, and the people just dance. There isn't the same stigma, I find, at least, as the Western world has it, particularly here in the US, when we would do women's retreats. So my mother, for I think 30 plus, maybe 40 years, until I got old enough and my babies, weren't nursing, I would go and help lead these women's retreats with my mom, and I would do the movement. And I tell you, the women, when I would say we're going to do free form movement, I wasn't calling it TranscenDance back then, or dance as a healing and transformative art, right? Just the word dance or movement. I mean, when I say this to a room of kindergartners, they light up like a Christmas tree. They haven't learned there's a right or a wrong way, or I might get shamed or judged, or the body shame hasn't started. None of that stuff's going on. They're just experiencing life and feeling and open and creative and free flowing. But to women who are 30 to 70, in my experience, they would get deer in the headlights, terror in their eyes. That's a learned response. That's not our nature. Our nature
We've
is
been separated from our bodies. So, yes.
yeah. And so I'm so grateful for my mentors in conscious dance and to now be someone who holds just this really loving space. And what I love about TranscenDance and conscious dance is it's all movement abilities. I'll have people dancing in bed because they're recovering, or in a chair or on a couch, or I had a woman I taught yesterday who came, one of our facilitators in training. I do TranscenDance facilitator trainings. And she said, I know you said we can come even when we're not feeling 100% well, and that actually TranscenDance is medicine to help us return to homeostasis. And I said, absolutely. And she said, well, I came with this just splitting migraine and nausea, and I decided to come anyways. And now I feel so much better. I mean, there's a tiny little bit, but I mean, the ability to see that shift in such a short period of time is profound. It's changed my life too. And now as a facilitator, when I facilitate this, and I said, I'm so glad you came, and I don't just pay lip service to this. I mean, it's really true.
Walk the talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Yes. And maybe you can just describe a little bit about what transcendence is, or what it kind of looks like, or includes.
Yeah, absolutely. So TranscenDance is typically a 60-minute movement practice. Usually when you come to a live, I teach it live virtually now, twice a month, the first Saturday of the month at 10 a.m. Pacific, and then usually the second Wednesday evening of the month at 5 p.m. Pacific. And we have Zoomers, TranscenDancers from all over the globe, literally all over the world, who pop into class. And we usually start with just a welcoming and a celebration and a grounding and intention setting. There's 10 stages to TranscenDance. And if you think about, really just a welcoming and a connecting with our body, our mind, our spirit, and a resetting process. What does that look like? What does that feel like for each and every one of us? It's so many people in our world are waking up to the reality and to the recognition that they aren't a victim to life circumstances, that what's going on around them does not have to actually shift their internal state, and that they are co-creating their life, their day, their experience. And so TranscenDance for me is a practice of really resetting myself, hitting the refresh button, and then really working towards this, or living towards this, dancing towards this life of having. In Brave Thinking Institute, we have a 3-year vision. We have 10-year visions as well. But we're really looking at what would I love in all areas of my life? What would I love my health and well-being to look like when I'm 90, 95, 100? And today, what kind of relationships do I want to have around me? What would really light me up in terms of my vocation? In your example, Leslie, for just a moment, if you don't mind, there was a moment where you weren't doing this show, and somewhere along the line in your own personal development, an idea popped in. It didn't just happen to you. You co-created this beautiful platform where you could expose people to this world, to the creative arts, to sacred dance, conscious dance, to transformational spiritual conversations, to helping awaken the planet. And somehow, spirit, you were open enough to hear the idea download, and then thank God for technology. Look at us being able to pop in here using this incredible technology to have these powerful awakened conversations. So let me take that example for a moment. If I'm so, and there was a time in my life when I, started having the babies, and we moved back to California. Things were shifting with the spiritual center, and so it was time to move back to LA. My husband's an actor, writer, and producer, so this is really the place for us to be, because he was gone a lot, and I was like, I can't do the absent daddy thing. If he's going to really do this, we got to be in California. So we moved back to LA. And, he's in the arts. If I'm in the arts, that doesn't quite put food on the table. So I took on and made the decision to be the steady, reliable on a regular basis breadwinner. And we invested in his TV projects, movie projects, which take some of them decades, and some of them did take decades to actually get onto the screen. That's just the nature of the work. So in the drive to just literally put food on the table, there was a period of time in my life during that time when I got into sales and got into corporate and just it's expensive to live here in California. I lost my way. I was just working 12 hours a day, and we'll circle back to TranscenDance, I promise. But this is an important piece, because dancing is great. Conscious dancing is great. And what I've done is I've taken conscious dance, but married it with these transformational spiritual principles for awakening and truly for living our purpose, passion, and mission. Because again, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I believe this is our spiritual life school. We're here to learn, we're here to grow, and we're here to become our highest potential selves. So for me, TranscenDance it's a method, it's a tool where in a very short period of time, I can create results that I want to create, which I'll get to in just a minute. But during this time, so I've lost my way. I'm in corporate, working too many hours. I've always been a health nut. For lunch, I'm eating a handful of M&Ms and a Diet Coke. I mean, it can't get more toxic than that. I completely lost my way. I'm super irritated at home because I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night because I have to be at the office at, we start at 6 a.m. because East Coast, and I'm miserable. I'm not dancing. I'm not exercising. My kids are little, and I want to be a better mom. My husband and I, because I'm not happy. I mean, there was a couple moments during that time when I didn't think we were going to make it. And, I went on a women's retreat, and this is during the time where once a year we do these women's retreats. And, I'm so grateful for my mother, especially, to have served the work that she's been serving. She just celebrated 50 years in this industry, and really helping people dream build and helping people create what they would love and not just get stuck in circumstances. We have a saying that, most people live 1 year 90 times and die thinking, oh, I'm going to retire and then I'll have a good life. More people put more time and energy planning and organizing a vacation than they do actually dreaming up and creating a vision for a life that they would love living. And at that time, I just couldn't figure out how to do this conscious dance thing and make enough money. I mean, that was really the gap for me, was how do I make a living at this? I can't, if I just in the old school way, I can't teach literally enough hours of dance class at X number of dollars per head to I couldn't do, the math didn't equate. And back then, most of the conscious dance facilitators like Vin and Gabrielle were just doing these week-long trainings in these exotic places, and I have 3 little kids at home. That way of doing it doesn't fit my
No, I understand.
My mommyhood. So I'm super
there.
stuck in my own paradigms and my own limiting beliefs, and I can't get out of my own way. And so I made a decision at that point to really work on myself, work on my life, and suspend all disbelief, put the how on hold, and just craft a vision. And I crafted a vision that ultimately is the life I'm living today. And it didn't happen overnight. It's taken a lot of dedication, a lot of studying of these universal spiritual principles. But at the heart and center of this work that I think makes, embodiment coaching or embodiment conscious dance so powerful is connecting conscious dance with really, there's a vibrational state that we're all living at. So the Jennifer that's working in corporate, that's stressed, that's worried about money, even though I was starting to get to a place where money was flowing in a little more, I was stressed about it. I had taken my starving artist paradigm, right? Because a lot of dancers and artists come in with this like starving, like just scraping by, where they're eating top ramen every night, and that's there's like a badge that we wear around being this starving artist. So I had a starving artist mentality. I was always rushed and strapped for time in terms of my relationship with time. And again, I hadn't yet really transformed my relationship with my body. So constant judgment and whipping myself into shape or starving off the 5 pounds or 10 pounds or however many it was, just very abusive relationship with the body. And then I'm with my soulmate, but it doesn't matter. You can meet your soulmate, but if you don't nourish and nurture and grow together in that relationship, it'll crack. It's like any garden if you stop watering and tending to the soil. So I was in a very not happy place. And so the vision was thriving marriage, happy, healthy, playful mom, somehow, some way, marrying my love of health and well-being, these personal development tools and principles with conscious dance for transformation. So the first opportunity was, okay, well, Jennifer, walk your talk. Let's apply these to me. Let's start really expanding and growing. And so I started doing some study and work with my mom before it was the Brave Thinking Institute and her circle, and found some mentors and programs that I could really just begin to reprogram my limiting beliefs about money, my limiting beliefs about time, about work-life harmony, about me, my body, what I'm capable of. I started to fall in love with myself, fall in love with my body, and then find outlets for how to bring movement into this personal development space, right? And so as I did that, these 10 stages of TranscenDance really began to speak to me, show themselves to me, where we set an intention. What is the practice? Step one is really, spirit, connecting with spirit and grounding an intention, right? So it's, I am not breathing me. I am a spiritual being having a human experience. So there is something moving through and as me. And just that in and of itself is a reminder to me to stay awake and to not ever again fall asleep the way I did during those few years where I just kind of got lost along the path. And I was raised in this. You would think I would know better, right? There's so many people who are raised or have read books. And I love our saying, which is, it's not enough to know about it if our life doesn't reflect it, right? Our life needs to be a reflection of the principles. And my life today, I don't say this to impress anyone, but to impress upon us all the power of real commitment to do our own work and to transform our experiences. Literally, I danced this studio space into form during a global pandemic when all logic would have said this isn't the time to buy a $1.7 million house, and even to have the funds and the deposit and all the things that you need to have, to purchase. My dream was to have a studio. I launched TranscenDance virtual in a new, more global way. And the house I was living in down the street didn't have the space to stretch out and to spread out and to broadcast and have in-person as well as virtual classes. So I used the principles inside of TranscenDance as well as our Brave Thinking Institute universal spiritual principles to craft a vision and to say, I can put the how on hold. What if it could be easy? What if I could? And then during the 10 stages of TranscenDance, bring myself into vibrational frequency with the dream that I am seeking, and so that's just one example, of many, many shifts and changes. My marriage is the best I've ever had. I'm, my two of my kids are now out of the house, and that flew by. If I hadn't changed, I think myself as a woman to be a mom that has time to be with her kids and isn't just working all the time, and is filling my cup so that I have some overflow to give them, and play, and I have a great relationship with them, and that's that lives on for a lifetime, right? So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. Still have one at home, and now get to support incredible souls all over the world and transforming from where they are to where they would really love to be through these life coaching and spiritual principles, with TranscenDance being a really fun, simple way to shift. So stage one is this connection with spirit. Then we source an intention. Then we dance into the dance of self, which is really, stretch. So stretch is really where we're on the floor and we're just going into the cocoon womb space, and we just begin to move the body the way the body began to move through the developmental stages. So it's literally waking up the body one body part at a time and letting the body move you, letting the body stretch you. So we do some floor work. And actually just yesterday, I had a story that was a life-changing story for a woman. It's a perfect example of how embodiment work, especially when the soul's really ripe to go to the next level, can unlock things in an instant, where in my experience, talk therapy or some of the old therapeutics can take decades and never actually get to the root or core trauma and shift it. Particularly, everything, as you know, Leslie, everything in our life is cellularized, right? Our bodies are like a recording device. It records everything that's going on or has ever gone on, including what went on when we were in the womb. So I had some new students, as we typically do in class. And at the end of class, I open up for what we call the afterglow. And this woman said, I'm brand new. I had no idea what to expect, but I was open to just seeing what this was and what it could do for me, And she said, Jennifer, at the beginning when we were on the floor and you took us into this beautiful, loving, golden womb space, I was adopted. And I didn't even know this memory existed in me. And I had two feelings at once. One was, because you took us to this unconditional loving place, I felt this, oh, this is what I should have felt like in the womb. And I didn't get that. And immediately I felt what was going on, because my parents didn't want me. There was this rejection feeling. There was this rushed feeling like we just want to get it over with. But I was able to replace that and I was, I sobbed and sobbed on the mat, during class, because one of our agreements in TranscenDance is to let emotions flow. She said, but I didn't feel bad, or I didn't get stuck in the grief. I literally let that emotion release, and I replaced it by this new, warm, loving experience that I can now tap into, that replaces the not feeling wanted in the womb space. I'm listening, to this story, just totally blown away in all the best ways. So, I don't know that everybody has that kind of a breakthrough experience in their first TranscenDance class, but it's totally available. It's about replacing the lower vibrational energies and frequencies, either from yesterday or last week because of life experiences or early childhood or life traumas, with new energy and vibration of love and light and possibility and expansion and flow and everything that would be in harmony with our most optimal human beingness, spiritual being having a human experience. So then we do a few what I call reverse sun salutations to just as toddlers. So I actually walk you through let me just say, once we go through the womb, then I walk you through the developmental stages that we went through actually as babies. So we begin to roll around. You can do this in a chair. We get onto all fours. There's a way to also do that, either sitting, even if you can't get on the floor, on your knees, and sitting, and then we come to standing. So there's a training of the brain there that's really powerful. Then we just begin to walk and honor the space. We move into the dance of self. And the dance of self is really just remembering that we have all directions we can move in: north, south, east, west, earth, heaven, self, center, moving from our core. And the music begins to play, and we just open and welcome into this space, and we let the body move us. And I invite us into a body part dance, which I did learn. I love Gabrielle Roth's. I'm trying to remember, it was one of her first pieces of work, but where she just she calls out different body parts and lets the body part speak to you and move you. And this piece in particular, I mean, I've had clients come in with like a locked shoulder that they had been to every doctor, every holistic practitioner, every body worker you could name. And they came into class saying, I don't know if I can do this class. I can't even move my arm up to here. And I just said, well, there's a lot of you can move. Don't do anything that's painful. And most importantly, just focus on the breath and focus on just moving energy. At the end of the day, even though we look and feel solid, we're filaments of light. And this practice is really all about aligning these filaments of light with love, with empowerment, with flow, with the higher vibrational frequencies. These lower vibrational frequencies are what create the tension, the stress, the tightness, the illness, the dis-ease factors, and so as we do these conscious dance practices, it's about connecting to some of these frequencies. And if there is a release that needs to happen, it can happen through the breath. It can happen through emotion, energy and motion, feeling the emotion fully, in our bodies. And I kind of lost track of her in this class. I think it was about 100 people in this one particular workshop I was leading. And she came running up to me at the end of class and lifted her arm like this and said, "It's a miracle. Oh my gosh," and so grateful. And I just said, well, you did it. You allowed yourself to whatever energy got stuck in there, that was locking the shoulder. You were able to tap your body wisdom. Your highest self was able to help you just dissolve it, and that's just one of many, many stories. So the body parts, if you think about all of our joints and different parts of the body. So I walk us through all the body parts, get to lead us in the dance. And then that leads us, it's almost like a tuning, where it's almost like if you think about an instrument and you're tuning the instrument, we're tuning the body and tuning to the highest frequency. And then we do some deeper work. And I invite into the space something you would really love to release. So what's super powerful for me about carving out a stage or a song for the dance of release, which is shift. The dance of shift is shifting from whatever lower. So it could be confusion to clarity. It can be procrastination to productivity. It could be resentment to forgiveness and compassion and love, self-criticism to self-confidence and love, whatever, it's these lower vibration thoughts and feelings that we can get into. And particularly along the journey of life's happening, stuff's going on, and it can be easy to get triggered or to allow ourselves to be triggered, along this journey. Just this last year, both my parents had some pretty life-threatening health issues. And the little Jenny, the little girl, was scared at times and angry at her dad for not taking better care of himself, and angry at her mom, and sad that this might be it. And, I mean, just all these human feelings. So it's a place where I could bring to the dance floor, to my healing balm, to my best, psycho physiotherapist, his dance floor, and feel those feelings so that they didn't get stuck or stagnant in my physical body, because whatever is suppressed must express itself one way or another. There is no way around it. So on the dance floor, we're shaking. So the dance of release looks like a somatic, if you think about like if a zebra gets chased by a lion and then it plays dead and the lion runs away and it doesn't get eaten, all the trauma and the fight or flight, the zebra will stand up and shake its whole body and shift the vibration. So we do a lot of shaking, we do a lot of sounding, we just, dump all of what is potentially stored in our emotional body, our physical body, our mental body, and just shift the energy physically, somatically, as well as we bring in, and then we refill our cup with joy and light and peace and compassion and all the energies that we would love. And at that point, my body feels literally like if we were to take our computer and hit the restart button. It's just like, I'm going to clear the decks. I'm just going to hit refresh. And I'm choosing that. Just, yes, my dad's still got cancer tomorrow. By the way, he's doing amazing and he's healed. But there were many weeks where I didn't know. And I can still be a human, let the little girl cry and have her energy, and then step into the higher woman, the empowered, wise woman, Jennifer, because from that state, from this fear, fight or flight, angry state, I'm no good to him or to me or to anybody else. I can still give myself the natural human moment to feel those feelings and then reset to my highest self state and ask for guidance. Spirit, what would you have me say? What would you have me do? Are there any resources that want to be downloaded through me for my dad to support? Or is it just being a partner and believing that he's got this and that this is a gift in his life and he can transform and come out the other end healthier and happier and more on purpose than ever before, which is what happened. But you don't know what's going to happen. You want to, I wanted to approach that from the highest frequency state. From the dance of release, we then move to the dance of surrender. And this is really if you think about ecstatic dance and you see fireworks and, if I think about just lots of sparkly champagne, bubbly, like the peak moment, the orgasmic moment where that experience that I talked about with Vin, where I'm not sure where I end and my space around me in spirit lives, and it's just oneness, total oneness with spirit. Because for me, at this stage of my life, I want to get out of my head, my logic and my ego. I don't want to drive my days, my relationships, my serving of my purpose from a place of want or need or control or the logical way. I really want to seek to serve and say, Spirit, take the wheel. I know that I'm capable of more. I know that I'm here for a grand purpose. I know that I can't do this alone. I surrender to you. And so the dance of surrender really is a physicalized experience. And I believe it was really through the release of all the control and tension in my body in the dance of release and practicing the dance of surrender that was probably the number one practice that taught me how to birth. Because in birth, there is no human, like if I try to control it from my human logical trained self, like it's so not
it's not gonna work.
No, it didn't. I tried. And it's like literally, I trust you, body, wisdom. I trust you, higher self, to move through this body wisdom to birth. In this case, it was life, but it could be birthing the book, could be birthing the new business, it could be birthing what we're all manifesting, creating something. We're either creating it consciously or we're creating it unconsciously through our own paradigms and patterns that are limiting and disempowering. So it's really about, and at that point, we can bring to our mind in the dance of surrender, what are we wanting to manifest? What are we really wanting to become a vibrational match with? And this house is a perfect example. When the idea downloaded, Jennifer, you need a dance studio in your house. I remember laughing. We're in the pandemic. Like, okay, spirit, that's a nice idea.
I'm moving. Yeah.
Let's have another visit when I have, we had already shifted financially, and we had long story short, we were, financially abundant, yet there was certain factors involved that in that particular moment, it didn't look like it was something that could be easily done. Right. So anyhow, so I just said, you know what? And I remember going to my husband. I remember the look on his face like, are you crazy? And I said, let's do this. Our opportunity is to practice what we preach here, babe. So we're going to push pause on how we're going to say, what if we could, what if it could be easy? Here's what I'm going to do. I just don't want to do this without your blessing. Like, I want us to be on the same page here. I'm just going to call Drew, who's our realtor, who helped us find the other house. And I'm just going to get us on the list. Let's just open up our minds to what might be out there. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to ask you to do a bunch of hours of looking at homes. I'll do the heavy lifting. So anyways, and I danced the dance of surrender over and over and over again, surrendering and seeing my dad healthy and happy and my mom, seeing myself in my body, seeing my kids getting through the pandemic, and being able to weather the challenges and come out the other side thriving, seeing the world, imagining the world. I mean, the ability for us to hold the vibrational state of seeing the world the way we would love to see it, in peace and harmony and connection, where our waters are healed and our air is healed and our children are fed, and the solution, moving to a solution vibration, literally in our minds and our hearts and our beingness. It's in that vibrational state that the ideas come to me that are mine to activate. What is it that is mine to do in regards to this pandemic, God? What is it that is, and I heard, take TranscenDance even more global and do it virtually and do it now, because guess what, Jennifer? I just put everybody on Zoom for you. The whole world's on Zoom now. So
Exactly.
now you can take TranscenDance to the world
Places
in a way
it's never been before. Yes.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So once we dance and surrender, then we move into a practice that is one of my favorite, that is really activating that playful inner child. And it's the dance of synergy, or we like to call it the mirror dance. And in the work that I do, particularly with, the coaching and the personal development, one of the places that I find is what causes people to not go after their dreams or really be bold or brave is this sense that I'm going to be rejected. And why that matters is that back in the day, in our tribal days, if we were rejected from the tribe, we could not survive on our own. So there's this deep rooted survival paradigm that I want to be liked. If I'm seen by others, I want to be accepted by my parents. I want to be seen, loved, and acknowledged. I want to feel like I'm enough. I want to feel like I can be part of this tribe. And so many people have early on memories of being ridiculed for not moving well, or they dance so well it's become more of an ego thing, and they have this dancer persona, but like the true stripped down essence of being, like just allowing your true essence to be seen and witnessed. There's the power in that I can't even begin to describe. So in the mirror dance, we do partner work where we hold space. One partner holds the space of just being the all loving, all accepting, non-judgmental energy. And the person leading the dance, their opportunity is just to be the most authentic, stripped down, bubbly, funny, playful, quirky, silly, just all the stuff that we don't typically allow the world to see because we're worried we'll be judged or ridiculed or ostracized, or even killed. I mean, right? Because back in the day, people were actually killed for these kinds of things. So there's this deep rooted fear. And so when they allow themselves to be expressed in this authentic essence of being and be held and witnessed in this energy of love, and the witnesser is actually mirroring. And the gift of the person mirroring is that you get to be inspired and uplifted, and it's so beautiful. I mean, I'm often just drawn to sobbing tears when I watch people dancing and mirroring in their true authentic beingness, because it's so deeply beautiful. It's so beautiful. So there's this opportunity to be mirrored and to mirror, and we do this even in the virtual space. I've figured out how to do that. Slightly different than when we're physically in each other's presence, but equally powerful. So we practice that, and that way, when the Jennifer who was able to practice this in a safe container in a TranscenDance class, then when I'm out in life and I'm asked to do something, and I can feel in my body if it's a yes or if it's a no, I'm that much more tapped into my authentic essence. And I'm going to say yes if it's my yes, or no if it's my no. Or in my marriage, if something's feeling not quite right, to communicate my truth, to stand in my truth, to know my truth, to know who I truly am. So conscious dance has all these powerful ways of embodying this on the dance floor, so that then we can take these skills into all areas of our life. And kids love it. I would say the best thing is to let a child be the leader of the parent, and oh my gosh, watch what happens. Like they just love it so much. From there, we move into the dance of serve. And there's an opportunity in the dance of serve to really just connect to this energy, as I shared before, of now I'm this open chalice. I've released the limiting beliefs and paradigms. I've totally tapped into, refilled with the highest vibration, connected to spirit. I'm tapped into my authentic essence, playful, creative self. And then now I get to serve, but we're programming, particularly for our Western world students, this push energy. You know, in my younger years that I mentioned in corporate, I was in this push energy, this all work, no play, get to the top of the sales organization game, and just fried, completely burned out, which is in and of itself a pattern. The world very much vibrates on that frequency, at least in my experience in the Western world. Now you can shift that, you can be in the world but not of it. Right. So I'm now living in a Western culture, but I've completely reprogrammed that paradigm where I have a new reality that is work-life harmony, that I rejuvenate, that I care for myself. And it took time, it took years to reprogram those deeper limiting beliefs. So, but when we move in flow energy, it actually repatterns our nervous system. So we move in flow, we practice serving ourselves. And then in this dance, we also visualize global peace. And what would that look like, feel like vibrationally, and feeling that in our body and being, and seeing that, imagining it in our minds. And when I do that in that space is really where I get to download if there's any ideas or ways that spirit would love for me to serve. So many people I work with, they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm really here to do. And if we come at it from just a logical left brain place, in our logic is everything we've already learned. It's everything that's been taught to us by culture or school or higher education. Oftentimes, our purpose lives in this land of Einstein ideas, of creativity, of innovation, of infinite intelligence that is more of a right brain, divine feminine energy place.
The unknown. Yes.
It's the unknown. And so by that stage in the dance, we're way out of the left brain, way out of the intellect, and ideally in this potent possibility frequency state. And ideas download in ways that are incredible. From there, we do and I'm a big fan of Reiki or therapeutic touch. I grew up learning the therapeutic touch version that was practiced and studied in hospitals by nurses, created by nurses, but it's very similar to Reiki. So we do an energy wash just to cleanse the energy field and soak up and soak in all this beautiful movement that we've just done. And then our final dance is the dance of stillness, where you can still feel literally the energy dancing, moving, calibrating you throughout your whole being. And we do a shavasana, either sitting or lying down, and just let everything soak in and settle. And I mean, I've had clients have visits from the other side and visions and downloads. And I mean, like anybody who's gone through a beautiful movement practice and then gone into stillness, you're in this just heightened state. And in my experience, the veil's very thin. We're touching higher consciousness in that moment. So healing happens, connection happens. I had one client get a visit from her father, and she just had this healing, this forgiveness that never occurred on the human plane, but in that moment occurred. There's some pretty amazing experiences inside of these kinds of practices. So those are a description of the 10 stages of TranscenDance. And what I also love about each stage is I pull out the stages also inside of my coaching. So there are times when I'll be working with a small coaching group, or my large Vibrant Healthy Woman coaching program, or one-on-one coaching, where we'll take one of the movement practices, one of the 10 stages, as a 5-minute calibration practice as we work with these principles of growth and transformation.
So typically, how are you doing this in a class? Like, these 10 stages, you're doing all 10 in one class, or this is a workshop, or how is this actually happening?
Takes 45 to 60 minutes to go through all 10 stages. And currently I'm teaching. So yesterday was my first Saturday of the month class, and people come at 10 a.m. We do some opening hello and connection, which takes about 15 or so minutes. Then we start the class, the music begins, and it's about an hour moving together. And then we'll usually stay after just to download and have open community sharing time. But I've taught TranscenDance as if you would come to like a yoga class. It'd be like a 60 or 90-minute yoga class. TranscenDance is taught all of the different places where you might find yoga. So community centers, fitness centers, yoga, studios. You can conscious dance or TranscenDance is taught at festivals and at retreats. So anytime you might find a typical yoga class, it's like taking TranscenDance. I describe as like taking the mindfulness of yoga off the mat and infusing it with beautiful music and free-form conscious dance and I've done longer classes, but the average class is roughly 60 minutes. So,
and then people would do it weekly, like it's a weekly class that you keep coming back to. And
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a daily practice for many. It's, for me as well as the facilitators. Similarly to a daily meditation practice, this could be like a moving calibration, a moving meditation. And the beginning and the end are also more stillness meditative parts of the 10 stages.
And just, I know we're going on an hour here, but just to I do want to ask you about the Brave Thinking Institute. How does this fit in there? Because I think this is kind of something new that you've created, this health and wellness section for them.
Yeah. So I launched my health and well-being company 14 years ago. And I've been with the Brave Thinking Institute now for 11 years. So it's my mother's company. She founded the company. And so she went from a physical spiritual center, closed the church, the center, and opened up more of a mainstream transformational life coaching company. and started with her coaching programs and her events and work. And so I came in, my brother was already in the company working more in the marketing side of things. But we now have 5 divisions within Brave Thinking Institute. My mother's coaching division is the Life and Transformation division. Her flagship program is the 12-week Dream Builder program, which is the art and science of bringing our thoughts into reality, of really building a dream life, a life that we love living. It's, again, what she's dedicated her life to for over 50 years. And we do 3-day large global conferences. We just had a big event in October with over 4,000 people from all over the world zooming in virtually to our global headquarters. We have a filming studio, and it was 3 days of the art and science of transformation and of these universal spiritual principles, and really the brave thinking tools that help you create, a life you love. Now, in that event, we do want people moving and embodying what they're learning. So I lead what we call energizers, where we take 5 to 10 minutes out of the event strategically multiple times throughout the day, and we get people standing and embodying the higher frequencies that they're dreaming up for their life. So that's one way TranscenDance comes into the large conferences that we do. And then, so life and transformation. My mom's oldest son, John Boggs, is the CEO of our company and had a 20+ year, very, very successful career in business consulting and sales. And she recruited him, and now he's the CEO of our company and runs the business and leadership division, bringing these success principles, these spiritual principles, into business and leadership and companies and corporations and entrepreneurs. So it's really fun. And then my younger brother, Matt Boggs, is an expert in the area of love and relationships. And so his programs are primarily right now for women looking to manifest their soulmate. And so he has online coaching programs and classes to help women bring in their soulmates. And I have the health and well-being division. So in that division, I launched coaching programs for women that are feeling uncomfortable in their skin, unhealthy, disconnected, self-judgment, and or they're feeling stifled in life. They really want to move forward and live their purpose, passion, and mission, and they want to have a new healthy relationship with their body. And what we have learned in our personal development work is, if just thinking about it and creating a vision and a vision board were enough, everybody at New Year's who does that would create a new life in just a few weeks. But it's not that easy, right? To transform and to grow. And
Need
so
a
there's
little bit more. Yes.
it's a little more commitment. Yes. So there's 2 ways to really shift from your current reality to a reality that you would love. And one is through repetition, accountability, and coaching, hence the coaching programs, which we do virtually. So we have clients all over the world. And we use Zoom. I was actually one of the first early adopters. I have my first Zoom account I got 6 years ago, and started launching some of the coaching programs and classes on Zoom back then. But now the whole institute uses these virtual platforms to be able to connect with our students that way. But yeah, and we also lead retreats. So we have 3-day deep dive trainings, large global conferences, and then VIP retreats. I literally leave this coming Wednesday for Tulum. I lead a women's retreat, a 7-day transformational retreat where we study universal spiritual principle, and we infuse it with mind, body, spirit practices. We have a daily TranscenDance practice, as well as other spiritual rituals and ceremonies that I lead as part of this journey. Because the second way to create a new result is through immersion training. So if you think about learning another language, you can learn it either through repetition and having a teacher and a mentor coaching you every week in a class, or you can just go to Mexico and get immersed in the culture and come back because that is very, I can speak from experience. That's how I learned fluent Spanish, is immersion training. So as an institute, we provide both. We provide coaching and classes and repetition and mentorship and accountability in a beautiful community within which you can transform and grow. And we also include trainings that are immersion trainings, which really just when I can, and this is part of why I offer it, is because that's how I've seen my own self grow. Yes, during the classes, but when I can unplug myself from the role I'm used to playing, the persona I'm used to being, the mother roles, the wife roles, the daughter role. I mean, all the normal cadence and rhythm of life, and go to a new location, particularly a vortex center, place where there's the ley lines of energy, where I can just feel my soul self and tap in to that authentic self. Layers of healing occur, breakthroughs have occurred for me, awakenings. I've all kinds of stories I could tell, about being on retreat in Vortex Center. So at a certain point, my mother decided to stop doing the women's retreats. And right around that time, she literally handed me the energetic baton and said, "It's your turn." It took me a few years to just own it and ground myself to a place where I said, "Okay, I'm ready." And I launched my retreats, and I've been doing retreats now for many years. I was co-leading and supporting retreats I have for 20 years. But to really own it, lead it, do it. It's one of my
Make it
favorite.
your own. Yeah.
Yeah, make it my own. Exactly. So it's one of my favorite things I do now as part of this work, are these retreats. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for speaking to us today. And I just want to, I think you have an offer for people.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in touch with Jennifer, you can find her through her website, www.bti.com/dance now.
Yeah.
And
Can I just say something about that real quick? So
Mhm.
the Institute's webpage is just go to bravethinkinginstitute.com. And that's where you can see, that's our homepage. That's where you can see all 5 divisions if you're interested in one or any of the divisions that I just described. The 5th one, actually, I realized I didn't describe, is our coaching certification division. So we also train and certify transformational life coaches. And I also train and certify facilitator trainings. We have a facilitator training program. But this link right here is to provide you with a fast link to be able to attend a TranscenDance class. So it's sort of what we call the short link. So bti.com/dance now will take you to a TranscenDance information page where you can also register for a class. And we have a free coupon code that I know Leslie would like to give you, which is GROW21. So our next class is on, let me pull up that date. It's the day before Thanksgiving here in the US, which is the 24th. So November 24th at 5 p.m. Pacific. Now, I know some of you, that might be in the middle of the night if you're in Europe. So if you register, though, and even if you don't come live, we'll send you the recording for free. So everyone who registers for class and pays or has the free coupon code gets the recording complimentary. So I would recommend registering whether you can come live or not. So you'll get the full meal deal, the full experience. It's my free gift to you.
well, thank you. That's very generous. And also you can connect on Facebook at TranscenDance Global.
Yes.
All right.
Yay.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for speaking to us today. It was a pleasure to hear all about what you're doing, and I hope that everyone will take advantage of that free class so that you can actually have the experience. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. All right. So I hope you will take that opportunity to try her class. I'm going to. I always enjoy trying everybody else's classes. So so I will put the address, the web address in the show notes, and then the code is GROW21. So I hope you'll try that. And next month, we have Brietta Leader, and that will be on the 5th of December. She will be joining us, so I hope you can join us live. If you have questions or comments, you can always participate with that on the live recording. And otherwise, please leave comments. We go back and we do look at the comments. So if you have questions, put them down there, or you can always email me. And please like and subscribe, because that helps other people find the live, well, the podcast in general. So that will help with the algorithms. All right. So thank you for being here, and I hope you will join us again next month. All right. Bye-bye.